How did you keep them at bay if it was that intense?
Well, what we figured out in the end, the princess helped out as well. What we figured out in the end, there's nothing we can do about it. You know, we kind of managed the beach so they wouldn't come close on the beach, but we just had to try and get on with it, with them being there. And every vehicle that went out, it was motorbikes around you, these little scooters cutting you in and out, and they didn't know who was in the car, but they just didn't know. And then we started sending decoy cars out, and we go on decoy like little decoy missions. And what we tried to do is we tried to create a space for them to at least enjoy an hour or two. So we'd send one ship off one way, one ship off another way, knowing we could half them. And then we'd send like maybe 3 or 4 vehicles going out. We had all the armored vehicles. So we wanted them to think, where's she gone? In which one? And we had some of the girls that were similar looking. So they just didn't know, knowing full well, within a few hours they'd get it. And then we go off to a beach somewhere or do something. Or sometimes we actually stayed at the villa and went down on the beach and there was no one there. So we just thought it's like a game of cat and mouse. But we were never speeding. We were never running away from them because, one, it's unprofessional. You get this thing about bodyguards driving fast everywhere. The faster you drive, the faster you drive into trouble, right? So, there was none of that. It was all managed. And I remember one day I came up with this plan and there was a really narrow route in Santa Fe. And I went back there, and did some filming for a documentary on Dodie Fired. And it's just won an award in the States, this documentary. And I'm in it quite a bit. So I went to Saint Tropez recently and I've not been back since. And it was, wow. I was like taken back all those years. And I went to this one road, a narrow street. And I figured if me and one of the guys get in this rear armoured vehicle, as we go down this street, we can get out, open the doors, so that even the push and the crush of them would even jam the doors further onto the walls. They couldn't get past. So we did that, and it worked, and it allowed the princess to get on the ship and the ship to get away. And you didn't have the technology we've got now, the social media and all that kind of stuff. And off she went, and then we drove back, and then there was me and my mate. We got on a pair of jet bikes. There were, I think, the 1,300 Kawasaki 3-seat jet bikes that we had, as well as all the rest of the jet bikes. And we went on these jet bikes with all the helmets, all the life things towing behind us. And we went, I think it was about, I don't know, 45 minutes, an hour to get there, going against the tide. When I got there, I was like, if I never see a jet bike again in my life, it'd be too soon, So we took them there, they played there, and then when we came back on the jet bikes, and they went back on the ship, and then came straight up back on the beach, So it all sounds very, very billionaire-ish, doesn't it? And it was incredible, and the princess did say to me one day, she said, Lee, I've been around a lot of things in my life, she said, but I've never seen anything like this. Never seen this wealth. So it shocked her. Interesting, eh?
Wow.
I know.
Did she say anything? Do you remember any other things that she said to you that stand out?
Yeah. We chatted lots, and I'd take her to the ship when it was in Saint Tropez Harbour. We were about 25 minutes from there by sea. So I'd take her down and backwards and forwards in the tender when she went on the ship. So we had lots of chats on this little Boston whaler. It was a little boat, and then we chat a lot on the beach in the morning. So one of my jobs I always had, I set the beach up, me and my friend. So we'd set the beach up and we'd look around for anything that had been left there. Obviously, anything at all. You're looking for devices, any kind of devices, or anything dangerous. So we'd set the beach up and we'd put all the toys on the beach, and we'd have people from the ship who'd come in and help us, and we'd winch everything out, all the boats, bikes, jet skis, everything. And then we would wait there for the family to come down. So we'd start about 7 o'clock in the morning, get all the beach ready, knowing full well nobody would come down till maybe afternoon. But the princess used to come down every morning early. She'd come down with a cup of coffee or something, and she'd sit on these steps, and we'd just chat to her like you and I are chatting. So we chatted about loads of stuff, and one of the big things was that at that time, she was the most famous woman in the world, the most famous person in the world. And the media was full of it. And the reason the paparazzi was so aggressive, that some of those iconic pictures of her in Saint-Tropez, and I'm on one of them on a boat where she's whispering something to me, they'd sell for over €1 million then. That's why they were so aggressive. That's a life change, isn't it? That's a retirement plan, isn't it, for most people? So she'd sit and chat, and you read all these things that the papers had wrote about her, that she was nuts, that she was had this going on with her life and all the rest of it. And this is the thing, any country that read the papers or listen to the news or whatever, they make their opinions up on that information, right? That's it. That's the only information they have. I've spoken to journalists about the princess when she said to me, "Oh, Lee, well, you know she was crazy, don't you?" And I said to her, "Have you ever met her?" And they say, "No." I said, "Well, how do you know? You've read it by somebody whose view that was." And I said, "You know what? She was one of the most down-to-earth, sane people I've ever met. She had it all. There was nothing wrong with her at all." And when she told me she was going to live in the States, and nobody knew at that time, I should imagine people that she confided in knew, and she said, "You know, I'm going to live in the States. I need to get away from all this. The British press hate me. The Americans love me. I like it there. I feel safe there. I just want some respite for this. So I'm moving to the States, to Malibu." And it was Julie Andrews' old house that she was interested in buying, right? So I said to her, naively, really now, "Are you taking the boys with you, Harry and William?" Who were lovely kids, by the way. And she said, "No, they won't let me." And I went, "Okay, well, how's that going to work?" And she, I told her about my children and things like this, and, and on previous conversations. And she said, "Well, look, I probably might see as much of them because on holidays they can come out because they're in private school and this, that, and the other." And she said, "I've got to make this work." And I was like, "Right, okay, wow, what a mum." She said, "But it was what the paparazzi was doing to her boys that concerned her, not her." Yeah, she was upset about it, but as a mother, she was upset about this, and she told me she'd been to the Prime Minister then and asked him to pass this bill that was going through to make more laws on the PAPS and what they can do, and he told her he wouldn't do it. She told me this, and I have no opinions in politics. I'm not a political guy. But it was Tony Blair, and she said, "I asked him, and he said to me, 'No, if I get the PAPS off you, they'll come after my government. You're going to have to live with it for a bit.'" And she said, "Yeah, it was shocking. I felt really, really angry when she told me that. It affected me quite a lot." And she said, I won't tell you the exact words she said, but what she said was, "I refused to cry in front of him. I waited till I got out to my car to start crying." How bad is that?
Terrible.
But, it's hideous, yeah. But anyway, Sean, she told me she was going to the States and this, that, and the other. And isn't it? This is so typical of the way we get information in. That after that, I did a piece for Mr. Fayed in one of the national papers, and I told my story because I was sick and tired of seeing him getting leathered for the stuff he did and the stuff about the princess, and I thought, like, you've got to hear this. So I did a piece in the paper. I wasn't working for him then, by the way, but I'm very loyal to the family, and I spoke about my experience, and I spoke about this one incident, and then in the subsequent papers for weeks, the papers were commenting on this America thing, And you had all her close friends coming onto the press, onto TV, saying there was no way she was going to America. It was not going to happen. I was her friend for 20 odd years, and blah 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 blah. So it was massively discredited. Now we know she was going to there. We know the house she was going to go in and everything. I wonder where they got these long-term confident friends, or friends she confided in. It's crazy, isn't it? How it all works. So yeah,
manipulated. Did she ever mention Charles to you?
She didn't. No, didn't mention him at all. Didn't mention him. I didn't hear her say one bad word against anybody. And I remember the Sun newspaper came out with this thing, and how they can write this thing about people, I just don't get it. And it had a picture of Camilla and a picture of Diana on the front page of the paper. The Princess Diana one was a beautiful picture of her. The picture of Camilla was the worst picture you could have ever found. And they must have looked for this. And it said he chose this over this, or worse to that effect. And I thought, why would you do that? Well, it's to sell papers, isn't it? And I thought, right, I'll speak to the princess. I've got to tell her this is out, because it's going to affect her. And then she came down, and I said to her, look, we're chatting on the beach. I said, have you had your morning newspapers today? And she said, yeah, I have, yeah. And I said, have you seen the Sun? And she said, yes, I have. I said, how does that make you feel? And she said, well, it's his choice. And just moved on. That was it. I was like, wow, how cool is that?
Whew, so you got a sense of a threat from the military companies. You got a sense of the threat from the paparazzi. Was there ever a sense of threat from the royal family?
No, we didn't know. And I know people have, kind of said that, but no, not at all. But interestingly, we knew we were being watched. We were being watched in the UK. We had MI5 on us, and we had other people doing surveillance on us. And from time to time, we'd catch them, and we'd just knock on the car door and say, do you want to brew, lads, or something like that? And they'd be like, ugh, and off they go. But don't forget, we had surveillance experts on the team as well, former MI5, former specialist people as well from the military. So we had our own anti-surveillance and counter-surveillance drills. So we knew we were being watched out there. And that time when I told you where we blocked the road off, the PAPS were quite a way behind on their little scooters. But there was about 4 or 5... maybe 2 or 3 or 4 high-powered bikes, which were not normal. And these people got off the bikes, these guys, and came to us, and they spoke to us in military terms, like, lads, are you going to let us through? You're right, mucker, are you going to let us through? And we said, lads, you know we can't. And they went, you're not going to? I said, we're not moving. And they went, yeah, okay, cheers, fair do, lads. Got on their bikes, and off they went. Then the PAPS came, and they were like pushing and shoving and really being aggressive and swearing and everything. But when they realised we weren't going to move, after about 5 minutes, off they went. So the first guys that we met were ex-military. Simple as that. What they were doing there, I don't know. But what we assume they were doing is they were watching the princess and what was going on. And it makes sense. And we actually like that we had some people there that were kind of giving us some cover, really. If anything happened, we knew that the government would know it was happening. So we didn't have a problem with this at all. And later, when I gave evidence in the coroner's inquiry, one of the barristers who were working for either the royal family or there was so many barristers there. He gave me a really hard time about this. And he was, I'll describe him to you, shall I? He was short, balding, nothing wrong with that, brother, with like patches of hair here sticking out, and quite overweight, right? So he gives me a really hard time about this, and the judges sat there. was it Lord? I can't remember, Lord Stevens or something like that. And I'm here for about an hour and a half, by the way, being cross-examined by all these top barristers. And he's saying to me, "Oh, Lee, oh, no, Mr. Sansum, I put it to you." And I went, "I hope you don't, mate." But he said, "I put it to you." And he starts telling me this. So what you're describing is somebody in a certain type of shoes, chinos, this type of shirt, and just purely by what they're wearing, you can tell me if they're ex-military or not. And I said, well, also their demeanour and the words they spoke to me, I can tell you now 100% they were ex-military. And I just really give it to him. There's nowhere to go then. So he comes up with this funny quip and he says, "Mr. Sansum, something like, if I was to ever see you when I was on holiday dressed like that, I would really be concerned that you thought I was ex-military." And I said, "I would never think you were ex-military, no matter what you wore." And everybody starts sniggering. And then the judge, he's got a smile and he says, "Right, we can stop this line of questioning now." I thought, what are you on, mate? Come on.